For millions of drivers across the United Kingdom, particularly those aged 50 and above, the government's latest announcement on MOT reforms has sparked a wave of concern, confusion, and curiosity. On the 22nd of October, 2025, the Department for Transport confirmed that a series of sweeping changes will be introduced to the current MOT testing system starting early next year. These reforms are designed to modernize vehicle testing, improve road safety, and adapt to the rapidly growing number of electric and hybrid vehicles now on British roads. But beyond the official statements and press releases, what do these reforms actually mean for older drivers who rely on their cars for independence, mobility, and daily convenience? And more importantly, how will these changes affect the cost, frequency, and fairness of the MOT test you've been used to for decades? Under the new MOT framework, which is expected to roll out gradually from the 15th of March, 2026, older vehicles, specifically those over 12 years old, will be subject to additional safety and emissions checks. This includes enhanced inspections of braking systems, corrosion, and electronic safety features, all aimed at identifying potential failures before they cause serious accidents. For many drivers of older petrol and diesel vehicles, this could mean longer test durations and slightly higher testing costs, with estimates suggesting an increase from the standard £54.85 fee to around £62. While that might sound like a modest rise, for pensioners and retirees living on fixed incomes, even a small change in annual car expenses can have a noticeable impact. One of the most talked about changes involves extending the first MOT requirement for new vehicles from 3 years to 4. The government argues that modern vehicles are more reliable and built with higher safety standards, making the first 3 years of ownership less risky. But motoring groups such as the RAC and the AA have expressed concerns that delaying the first test could allow dangerous faults to go undetected, particularly with new electric vehicles whose battery systems and sensors require specialist checks. For older drivers purchasing second-hand cars, this change could be a double-edged sword. On one hand, it might reduce early maintenance costs. On the other, it could increase the risk of buying a used car with hidden problems. Another significant reform that's causing debate is the proposed digital MOT certificate system. Paper certificates will gradually be phased out, with results stored online and linked directly to a driver's DVSA record. While this digital shift aims to reduce fraud and simplify access to records, it has raised concerns among older motorists who are less comfortable navigating online systems. Many people over 60 have said they still prefer a physical copy to keep in their car or home, both for peace of mind and for ease of access when selling or insuring their vehicle. The government has said that paper certificates will still be available upon request during the transition period, but over time, the system will move entirely online. There is also a major focus on emissions testing. With the United Kingdom's goal of reaching net zero emissions by 2050, the MOT is being redesigned to identify and penalize vehicles that emit higher levels of nitrogen oxide and carbon dioxide. Petrol and diesel cars will face stricter emissions thresholds, and garages will be equipped with updated diagnostic tools to detect tampering with emission control systems. This is part of a wider push to discourage the continued use of older, high-polluting vehicles. However, critics argue that such measures could disproportionately affect lower-income drivers and retirees who cannot easily afford to upgrade to cleaner models. The government has responded by suggesting that a vehicle scrappage and rebate scheme could be expanded in 2026 to help offset the cost of transitioning to newer, more efficient cars. Electric vehicles are another focal point of the new MOT structure. For the first time, EVs will undergo mandatory battery health assessments to ensure they are safe and operating efficiently. This will include testing for overheating, charging port damage, and software integrity. The aim is to protect consumers from buying used electric cars with degraded batteries, a growing concern in the second-hand market. While most EV owners welcome the idea of more transparent testing, independent garages have warned that they'll need new training and expensive equipment to perform these checks properly. That could mean higher testing costs in the short term, particularly in smaller towns and rural areas where fewer garages are equipped for electric vehicle maintenance. Beyond the technical aspects, the reforms are sparking an emotional debate about fairness and practicality. Many older drivers feel they are being unfairly burdened with additional costs and complexities at a time when motoring is already expensive. Insurance premiums have risen steadily throughout 2025. Petrol prices remain volatile, and road tax adjustments for certain models have increased by as much as £20 a year. For those living in rural or semi-rural areas where public transport options are limited, a car isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. The idea that maintaining an older, well-kept vehicle could soon become more expensive feels like yet another squeeze on those who have spent decades driving safely and responsibly. Still, some experts argue that the changes could bring long-term benefits. By encouraging regular maintenance and retiring unsafe vehicles, overall road safety may improve. In 2024 alone, over 1,300 road accidents were linked to mechanical failures, and the government believes stricter MOT standards could help bring that number down. Additionally, newer digital reporting tools will make it easier for drivers to monitor the health of their vehicles between MOTs, reducing the likelihood of unexpected breakdowns. In theory, this could help older motorists plan repairs in advance and avoid sudden large expenses. The government insists that these reforms are not about penalizing older drivers, but about modernizing a system that hasn't seen major updates in over a decade. The first MOT framework was introduced back in 1960, when Britain's roads looked nothing like they do today. Cars were simpler, slower, and fewer in number. Now, with nearly 39 million licensed vehicles on UK roads, including more than 1 million electric models, officials argue that the MOT must evolve to keep pace. Whether that evolution feels fair or frustrating largely depends on one's perspective and one's age. In towns across England, Scotland, and Wales, reactions to the announcement have been mixed. Some motorists say the stricter testing regime is a step in the right direction, ensuring that unsafe vehicles don't slip through the cracks. Others fear that the reforms will widen the gap between those who can afford newer vehicles and those who cannot. Garages themselves are preparing for a busy year ahead, as new equipment and training programs are rolled out nationwide. The Institute of the Motor Industry estimates that over 12,000 technicians will need additional certification by December 2026 to comply with the new standards. For older drivers, the takeaway is clear. It's time to pay close attention to the details of these MOT reforms and plan ahead. Whether that means budgeting for slightly higher fees, scheduling tests earlier to avoid backlogs, or considering a switch to a newer model, preparation will be key. The coming year will bring many changes to the motoring landscape, and being informed could make all the difference between a smooth transition and a costly surprise. If you find this update helpful and want to stay informed about future motoring and policy changes that directly affect older drivers, consider supporting the channel by giving this video a like and subscribing. The world of driving is changing faster than ever, and understanding how these shifts impact your daily life is essential. With the new MOT reforms on the horizon, every driver, especially those over 50, deserves clear, honest information about what's coming next.